So this is Natalia, and her story is crazy. So she's 9, she's an orphan from the Ukraine, and she has a rare form of dwarfism. And one day...
Hello, my name is Brooklyn. Today I'm going to be going over the Natalia Grace case. I have put together a bunch of articles and I watched a docuseries, and I just want to sit down and talk about this case. I know it was pretty big about 4 years ago, but it's coming to the media's attention again because of the documentary on Netflix. Let's sit down and talk about it. I am going to be reading off my little computer. That's what we're going to do. And I also have a video in the background if it's hard for you to pay attention sometimes. So let's get into it. This one should be from people.com. It's from an article, it's not my words. So the internet is divided on bizarre case of Natalia Grace Barnett, the Ukrainian orphan with a rare dwarfism condition who was accused of being older than what she really was. So let's get into that. People were saying that Natalia Grace was 9 years old, but other people were also saying that she was 20 years old. So there's pretty big difference, pretty big difference between 9 years old and 20 years old. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the DNA. So this is from people.com as well. And this is regarding to the blood test conducted by the media lab during True Diagnostic revealed that Natalia Grace is approximately 22 years old, which suggests she was 9 years old when she was adopted by Indiana couple Michael and Christine Barnett in 2010. So we have Natalia, we have Michael and Christine Barnett, and then we also have their children. They were looking to adopt a kid. They ended up finding Natalia. They wanted to help her.
Everyone's happy and everything is going great for them. Until that first night, Christine goes to the bathroom to give Natalia a bath. And she notices Natalia's already been through puberty, allegedly. Like she has hair down there. And as time goes on, they notice other stuff about her that they think is weird. Like,
I'm very iffy on everybody in this situation, I'm gonna be honest, because all of them are they're characters, to put it kindly. Supposedly, they ended up seeing a dark side from Natalia. People quickly started questioning Natalia Grace's age, noticing things like pubic hair and menstruation. I just want to get into, I got my period when I was 10. I was about like a year into being 10, about to be 11. So I got my period pretty early, so it's not uncommon to get your period early or also start growing pubic hairs and seeing other changes in my body. So I don't feel like that is a premise to get your daughter's age changed from 9 years old to 22, I believe, or 21 is the age that they ended up changing it. His adopted daughter is saying she would do things like urinate on his youngest son and even allegedly try to kill Christine by poisoning her coffee and dragging her into an electric fence. I can see the poisoning coffee one, but how are you as a grown woman gonna let a child with dwarfism, I'm sorry, no offense, but how are you gonna let a child with dwarfism almost drag you into a fence? I know Christine had lupus and everything, but I do have a friend that has lupus. She might not be up to do things all the time, but she definitely has the strength to not have a dwarf child drag her into the fence. So I'm not saying anything about the poisoning thing. I wasn't in the house, so I can't really rebut those claims. Natalia Grace has since rebutted the claims, stating that Michael and Christine were taking ideas from the 2009 horror film The Orphan, where a newly adopted daughter goes on a murderous rampage against her family. When I was watching the docuseries, I genuinely thought it was too much of a story for it to be real, if that makes sense. Like it just seemed too dramatic to me. In short, Natalia Grace ends up getting adopted by a family that she thought was really good. Everything ends up going good for a little while, and then the supposed urination on the other siblings happened, also the supposed poisoning, and then dragging Christine into an electric fence, or I'm sorry, trying to supposedly drag Christine into an electric fence. They end up finding her own apartment to live at because their son was going to school for, like, he was like a genius or something like that. So their son was going to school. They wanted to move cross country pretty much to get her apartment in the shitty neighborhood that is not handicapped accessible at all.
Natalia's living on her own, and of course she's struggling for a lot of reasons. Like, the apartment isn't accessible for a little person. She also doesn't really like clean or bathe herself properly because, you know, she's 10, so she smells.
You adopted her, that's your daughter. Handle your business, but that's my opinion. So they end up getting her this apartment. They're never there. They're not able to buy her groceries. And supposedly in the docuseries, they were doing interviews with the neighbors, and they weren't speaking very highly of Natalia Grace, to put it in to kind words. Ends up meeting a nice family, the man's family, and they pretty much seemingly took Natalia in when the docuseries was being filmed, and they gave her food, they gave her shelter, they gave her love. They have a lot of other children in their home.
But while she's living at her new place, Natalia meets this woman, Mrs. Mans. And Mrs. Mans immediately sees through all the bullshit. She's like, "You're not 22, you're a kid. They've been lying to you." And by the way, Natalia's probably around 11 at this point. So Mrs. Mans invites her over, and they end up liking Natalia a lot. So much so that she stays and never leaves. And
So at the time the docuseries was being filmed, everything seemed to be going very well for Natalia. She ended up finding a family that wanted her and loved her and cared for her. But then there's a lot of articles that started coming out once the Natalia Speaks, the part 2 of the docuseries came out. I'm just going to quote it straight from People magazine. Though Natalia's new adoptive parents, Bishop and Antoine Mans, and his wife Cynthia took her in, supported her following the scandal in the season finale of The Curious Case of Natalia Grace in Natalia Speaks, they claimed that she is now wreaking havoc on their lives. So it's kind of a pattern that we're seeing now. If you do something once, it's a mistake. If you do something more than once, it is a pattern. So it's a pattern that we're seeing now. But let me just keep reading. And this is from People magazine. These are not my words. While the man seemed very supportive of their new adoptive daughter at first, the last 2 minutes of the episode 6 of the docuseries seems to suggest a twist in the tale. A block on the screen of text read, 2 weeks ago, 6 months later, after Natalia's adoption, the producers got a shocking phone call. 2 weeks ago and 6 months after Natalia's adoption, the producers got a shocking phone call. Something ain't right with Natalia. This is Natalia's new adoptive father, Antoine, says in the clip, "The girl is tweaking. I feel like she is the enemy in the house, and she's the enemy in the house. And she said to us, we have held her hostage, made us look like we are the enemy, and Natalia is stabbing her family in the back over a complete lie," his wife Cynthia adds. "He's done other things," Antoine continues, "but this is a new low. Natalia does not have emotions for nothing but herself. We're done with her." Cynthia said she and her family were working through their issues with Natalia Grace, but she doesn't live with them and is currently living with friends. Natalia Grace has seemingly created a GoFundMe page seeking $20,000 to ask people for a fresh start in life. USA Today has reported the biggest question remains, how old is Natalia Grace really? According to People magazine, a DNA test seemingly concluded that she currently is around 22 years old, meaning she would have been a child when she was adopted by the Barnetts in 2010. However, some skeptics are still not convinced, guessing the documents still could have been fake or altered. Possibility that they could be fake or altered, or because things just aren't adding up in this case. So if you don't want to watch the full case, this is just a little recap video of pretty much the whole case and what was going on. So now I'm going to get into what happened to the Barnett. They adopted Natalia Grace and they got her age legally changed. Let's see what happened to them. Okay, so in 2018, Michael and Christine Barnett eventually split. It looks like they ended up splitting in the docuseries. It doesn't look like, you know, anybody really has a good relationship with anyone, which is very unfortunate. It looks like the Mans family no longer talks to Natalia as well, so it's kind of becoming a little pattern that we're seeing, especially since she's been in the media's eye. If you enjoyed today's video, if you'd like me to do more true crime or case related things, and I will, just let me know. Okay, but yeah, I hope you all have a beautiful blessed day and stay safe.